and welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. In this podcast, your host, Gloria Me, will invite a bookish guest to share their favorite book recommendation. If you share a passion for books and always looking for your next read, then join us. Hi, Francesca. Welcome to What to Read Next podcast.
Hi, Laura. Thank you so much for having me again.
So happy to have you here. So tell us a little bit about what you've been up to.
I've been up to reading a lot less this year than I normally read. Strangely enough, I had set my goal for 150 books, but I kind of like always set a low goal. So like I don't have this stress from Goodreads saying that I'm behind schedule. So in my mind, I thought for sure I'm going to hit 200, and here I am barely hitting the 150. So yeah, it's been a slow year.
I feel you. Yeah, for me, I usually hit 200 books, and I had a reading slump for most of the year. I would say like 9 months out of the 12 months I had a reading slump. I start a bunch of books, but I did not finish a bunch of books. And somehow I got my reading groove back when I decided not to read for the job and read for whatever it is and just burn through mafia romances. And so I'm 2 away from 200, and I'm like, okay, then I can be fine, you know? But it's been like a struggle. Like I would say 2021 has been a struggle to get the reading done, you know?
Yeah.
So all this stuff like happening, and like, where are you going to get, you know, like what's capture your attention where there's like so much distraction.
Yeah, this is true.
So yeah, so let's chat. So today we're chatting about what are some of like the best books that you enjoy and which are some of the disappointments. So let's chat first. Let's do bad news first and then good news after.
Oh, okay. Get that out of the way.
Yeah, let's get it out of the way. You know.
Okay. Two actually of my biggest disappointments this year. One, I actually talked to Suzanne on our podcast on the Fangover. We did a review for it, and it was a train wreck of an episode because it was a disappointment, and it was claimed by J.R. Ward. Is the first book in the what is it called? The Lair of the Wolven series, I think, which is the spin-off of the Black Dagger Brotherhood. And I've always been a massive fan of J.R. Ward, and that book was just so boring. I did finish it. And then The Wolf came out, which is from her prison camp spin-off of the Black Dagger Brotherhood. And I was already scared because I was thinking, oh my God, claimed was so bad, but let's go with it, which is another wolf shifter book in that universe. And again, it was better than claimed, but it was still not good. So I am having mixed feelings about J.R. Ward at the moment. So I don't know what to do with those feelings.
Maybe it's a pandemic flick. Like, you know, maybe it was just like, you know, I'm contracted to write these books and people are claiming for them, but I'm like, pandemic brain, you know.
Pandemic brain. It could. Yeah, it could. We'll see what happens with the next release. And it's always hard when it's like one of your favorite authors, you know?
Yeah. And so actually let's talk about the Fangover. This year you were following Slave to Sensation, the Side Changing series. So
yeah.
What was some exciting things about that? Talking about the Side Changing series.
I mean, that is one of my favorite paranormal romance series, and that's actually one of my reading highlights for this year. One of like my best books is rereading that series up to where we read so far. We have not finished because we got a little behind on our schedule. But the exciting part for me was just revisiting the series that has really amazing world building, and it was probably my first time reading some of the books. And the first like 12 books have a series arc. And it was really interesting to pick up on clues that maybe I didn't see before, or be reminded of those things where, you know, once you get really far into a series, you forget how some characters maybe were important at certain points, or like things that happened. So it was really like revisiting family kind of thing, you know, like kind of that feeling. And it's a series I recommend to everybody. Plus, we just recently reread my absolute favorite book in that series, which is Heart of Obsidian, one of my top book boyfriends of all time. So it was like a giddy experience for me.
I love this. So what are some of your highlights, other highlights do you have?
So for this year, I feel like most of my highlights for this year have been books that I was not expecting
Mhm.
to love, which was kind of weird and exciting at the same time. My biggest book that I enjoyed recently is called Nightshade by Carrie Lake, which is a gothic paranormal slash fantasy romance.
Ooh.
It was really good. Now I have read Carrie Lake before. She writes some urban fantasy, but mostly she writes like dark romance.
Mhm.
And I've read like her Vigilante series, which is definitely dark romance, kidnappings, and all of that stuff. But I haven't read her gothic romance, and I haven't read any of her paranormal stuff. Angela at UTC, she loves all of her stuff. So it was like my first time diving into that side of her writing. And it was so, so good. I mean, it's an angels and demons kind of paranormal. And it's sort of like two worlds where there's the regular mortal realm, and then there's kind of like the, I don't want to call it like hell, but it's like where souls go after they die, and they don't know that they're dead, so they're just like living in a whole world. And it was so good. There's like um a love story through like different reincarnations, and then they finally get back together, and then they didn't know who they were. It's just so good. It's super long. It's a super long book, but I really loved it. It was probably one of my favorites of this year.
I love this. This is so exciting. Any other highlights? Any other ones that you're like,
Oh, let's
really
see. Let's give you another weird one that consumed me while I was reading it. And this was for October. I was looking for like darker romance because, Halloween, I wanted something a little bit darker. And somebody had recommended I don't know if I can say it's called the Mindfuck series by S.
Yeah.
It's a female serial killer. And I
Mhm.
think there are 4 books in the series, 4, maybe 5, I can't remember. I kind of picked up the first one on a whim, because I probably haven't read enough books with serial killer main characters. So I felt like it's the perfect time of year. I'll pick up one and maybe like read the rest later.
Mhm.
I could not stop. I read all of them in a whole weekend, like
Mhm.
all or 5 or whatever it was. It was so good. So the girl is the serial killer, and the hero is the FBI profiler that is obviously researching all of her kills. So it was so good. It was so good, so addictive. Highly recommended if you want something a little bit darker and that maybe will like make you question your opinions and your feelings as you're reading it. It was just really good.
Oh my gosh, I'm picking that one up because I've been reading some serial killer romance. Like I am like obsessed. Like I went from mafia serial killers to I Spy Barbarians. I'm just jumping around KU world, and I feel like this is like
Yeah.
the perfect, read,
And all of the ones that I'm talking about right now are KU.
Oh, even better. Even better. God bless KU.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. And what are you currently reading?
So I am currently rereading Shield of Winter by Nalini Singh, which is the book after Heart of Obsidian in the Side Changeling series, to record for the podcast, which is also another one of my really like favorite heroes in the series. So I'm like savoring that one. And other than that, I'm just kind of like nibbling like holiday short stories. I just finished It Happened One Winter by Christy Caldwell.
Mhm.
And I am reading the Amor Actually like collection of short
Yeah.
stories. So
Oh,
that's where I'm in between like just comfort reads.
comfort reads. Yeah. Any intentions for 2021? Any like thing or I'm sorry, 2022. I'm still in 2020. Like honestly. It still feels like 2020, like honest. So
I know what you
2022,
mean.
we don't want to say it out loud, like, a big thing, but
Yeah, I know. So as far as like what I want to read for the next year,
yeah.
I haven't made my list. Usually by now I have a list of my most
Yeah.
anticipated reads and all of that. I haven't done that. I can tell you one is Monroe by Kresley Cole, just because we've been waiting for that book for like 500 years.
Mhm.
So finally, having it so close, I'm super excited to read it. I'm also a little nervous to read it,
Mhm.
honestly, just because it has been so long. And I feel like also my taste maybe has changed. So
Mhm.
I'm curious as to how that's going to go, but I'm super excited for that one. Obviously, I'm super excited for whatever Lisa Kleypas puts out next year. I don't even care what it's called or who it's about. So there's that.
Yeah, she got a book deal. She has like a 3-book deal or something like that. So we're getting books for her like every year.
This
So
is good. This is good. I don't need to know when or what. I just need to get one.
yeah. I agree. I'm like the same way.
I'm also excited. There's a new series by Jesse Mihalik, which is like a sci-fi romance.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called right now, but I think the first book is We Hunt the Stars or something like.
I think
so I'm excited for that one. I really liked her previous series. And oh gosh, that's the only ones that are like really sticking out and coming to mind right now for next year.
That's so good.
It's a variety. It's a variety.
Keep it like keep it simple. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like keep it like
Yeah.
every other month. I'm supposed to be like binging like, you know, long list of like 50 books I need to read, you know.
You know, I usually have like a top 10 or a top 15 that I'm really anticipating. And like you said, this year has just been so scattered that I'm behind on like doing that. Because I do like to keep up with what are the big new releases for authors that I love. So yeah, I'm just a little behind schedule.
Okay. It is all good. So tell us where you can find you online.
So I can be found at underthecoversbookblog.com. We are still blogging there, and we actually just added a nice team of guest reviewers. So we're having a ton of variety of reviews on the blog. And you can obviously tune into the Fangover podcast, where I discuss all things paranormal romance, fantasy, sci-fi with Suzanne, who also is at Under the Covers. And that's at The Fangover or thefangover.com. And of course, on Instagram at UTC Book Blog.
Awesome. Thank you, Francesca, for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share with friends, subscribe, rate, and review the show. This is the easiest way to support the podcast. Today's episode's partner is Libra FM. If you're an audiobook listener, then you should add Libra FM as your go-to source for paid audiobooks. Libra FM makes it possible for you to buy audiobooks through your local bookstore. Memberships start at $14.95, and they also have great sales for romance audiobooks each month for $3.99, thanks to the Kiss Club. To sign up for Libra FM, please visit whattoreadnextblog.com/LibraFM. You will receive a free audiobook when you sign up for a monthly subscription. If you purchase a subscription through our link, you will be supporting the podcast at no cost to you. The What to Read Next podcast is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Please visit frolic.media/podcast to discover new shows to tune in. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.